I woke up to the soft creak of a step. The room was dark except for the faint orange glow from the hallway nightlight. At first, I thought I had imagined it. But then I saw him, Andre, standing on a chair in our bedroom, unscrewing the smoke detector with surgical focus. He did not see me watching. His back was tense. He pulled something tiny from inside it and replaced it with something else. Then he climbed down, quietly pushed the chair back under the vanity, and slipped into bed beside me like nothing had happened. I lay still, heart pounding in my ears, the sheets suddenly too heavy. I kept my breathing even, pretending to be asleep. But my mind was screaming. That was the moment I knew. Something in my marriage was very, very wrong. Before I continue, I want to say thank you, truly, to everyone subscribed to this channel. Your support means everything. If you are new or returning but have not yet subscribed, I am so grateful you are here. I cannot wait for you to hit that subscribe button. It is the fuel that powers the space and keeps stories like mine going. Be sure to drop your thoughts in the comments and engage. You never know who might need to hear your voice.
Now, let me tell you how the nightmare began.
My name is Connie. I am 35 years old, born and raised in Helena, Montana. I work in interior design. About 2 years ago, I married a man named Andre. He was 38, charming, respectful, and Southern to the bone. The kind of man who opened car doors, cooked me dinner, and made me laugh until I cried. My friends called him a rare gem. My sister Marion even said, "You hit the jackpot, girl." For the first 6 months, I believed I had. Andre doted on me. He called me his queen, brought me flowers just because, and kissed my forehead every night. But then he started changing things, subtle at first. He locked my phone with a password only he knew, claiming it was for my safety in case I ever lost it. He suggested I stop seeing my sister so often because she stressed me out. He installed a new thermostat and said he would control it from his phone, so I would not have to worry about it. Every decision was now his. When I pushed back, he would smile and say, "You do not need to carry so much, baby. Let me take care of everything." His words were soft, but something about them made my stomach knot. The house grew quieter. My world shrank to the walls of our home and the sound of his footsteps. I stopped calling my friends. I stopped visiting Marion. I even began questioning my own instincts. Maybe I was just overthinking. Until that night. The next morning, after Andre left for work, I climbed on the same chair he had used. I unscrewed the smoke detector, and there it was, tucked neatly behind the casing, a micro camera. A red light blinked once, then stopped. I stood frozen with the smoke detector in my hand, the tiny lens staring back at me like an unblinking eye. I was not crazy. He had been watching me, recording me.
But why?
I put the camera back exactly how I found it. My hands were trembling, but I forced them steady. If Andre knew I had discovered his secret, I might not survive long enough to find out what else he was hiding. The next few days, I pretended. I smiled when he kissed me. I laughed at his stories. I even let him feed me dinner, like a helpless child. But inside, I was cracking. I knew I could not confront him. Not yet. I needed answers. I needed a plan. I waited until Andre left for his usual morning run. He never brought his phone with him, a habit I once found endearing. Now it was my window. I started in the basement. Boxes, old tools, storage bins. Nothing. Then I went to his locked office. The key had always been on a chain he wore, but he had gotten careless. He left it in the nightstand drawer last weekend, and I had remembered. I unlocked the door and stepped inside. Everything looked normal, too normal. His desk was spotless, the books perfectly aligned. I opened the top drawer. Pens, notebooks, receipts.
But the second drawer caught my breath.
There was a photo album. I sat on the floor and opened it. The first few pages were old family photos, nothing unusual.
But then,
I turned to a picture of a woman I had never seen. Blonde, smiling, wearing a necklace I now wore every day. I kept flipping. Another woman, redhead this time, different state, same eyes, same necklace. My blood turned to ice. I typed the names I found scribbled in the margins into my phone. Emily Carter, missing since 2019. Last seen in Billings. Nadine Walsh, disappeared 2021. No leads. Both had dated Andre. Both had vanished. I backed out of the room slowly and relocked it. That night, I pretended to be tired and went to bed early. My heart was thundering so loud, I thought he might hear it through the walls. I could feel him watching me from the doorway. Not with love, with possession. The next morning, I left the house for groceries and bought a cheap prepaid phone. I dialed Marion, but before she could answer, the phone cut off. I checked the battery full. The SIM card had been disabled. He knew. He was always a step ahead. That night, while Andre slept beside me, I cried silently. My marriage was not just a lie. It was a trap. I had to get out, but I could not just run. I needed proof. Something solid. Something he could not twist or erase. The next day, I waited until he left again and picked the lock to the bottom drawer of his desk. Inside was a manila folder. My name was written across the top. I opened it. Dozens of printed screenshots. Me sleeping, me dressing, me showering. Time-stamped. Dated. Meticulously organized. Some were from weeks ago. Others were from just 2 nights prior. One picture made me fall to my knees. It was me, crying in the bathtub. The same night I had thought I was alone. I spent that night planning my escape while lying beside the very man who was hunting me from within my own home. I kept my breathing steady, even though fear sat like a stone on my chest. I knew I could not run without a solid plan. Andre was too calculated, too familiar with every corner of my life. So, I did what he never expected. I played the role. The next morning, I told him I felt nauseous and lightheaded. He touched my forehead and told me to rest. I asked if he could pick up groceries for the week since I was not feeling up to it. He smiled and kissed my forehead. The minute his car backed out of the driveway, I moved fast. First, I copied everything inside the manila folder, every image, every file, every grotesque piece of evidence. I placed the copies into a plastic bag and tucked it deep inside a decorative vase in the living room. Then I left a decoy phone by the kitchen sink, along with a note that said, "Going to Marion's." But I was not going to Marion's. I had already contacted a women's shelter 30 miles away using a neighbor's Wi-Fi the night before. A volunteer was waiting for me in a car around the corner. I stepped out with nothing but a small duffel bag and the evidence. My hands were shaking the whole time, but I did not look back. When I arrived at the shelter, I handed over everything. I told the staff everything. They listened, truly listened, and within hours, the police were involved. That same night, detectives searched our home. I watched from a secure window across the street as red and blue lights bathed the front of our house. Then came the twist that made my blood run cold. Behind a hidden panel in the basement, a place I had never dared enter, they found more evidence. Boxes of women's belongings, jewelry, clothing, a pink diary that did not belong to me, and inside a safe, 2 driver's licenses. Emily Carter, Nadine Walsh. Andre was arrested that night without resistance. He stood silent as officers handcuffed him, not even looking in my direction, as if he already knew it was over. But even with him behind bars, I did not feel safe right away. I battled panic attacks. I jumped at every knock on the door. I felt like I was still being watched, even in rooms filled with people. But the truth was, I had survived. I had clawed my way out of a cage that had no bars but was locked from the inside with manipulation, fear, and control. Healing is slow, but it is real. I live with Maria now. I go to therapy twice a week. I cook for myself, I answer my own phone, and I have passwords no one else knows. I am building a new version of me, one that does not apologize for noticing red flags or walking away when something feels wrong. I was his wife in daylight, but by night, I was his prisoner. Never again. Thank you for watching my story. If you felt something, learned something, or want to support stories like mine, please like, comment, and share this video. Do not forget to subscribe to the channel. It truly helps more than you know. And remember, if something feels wrong, it probably is. You are not crazy. You are not alone. And you can survive.